In this tutorial, we will be discussing solutions, in particular parts by mass and parts by volume. A dilute solution contains a small quantity of solute relative to the amount of solvent, whereas a concentrated solution contains a large quantity of solute relative to the amount of solvent. There are several different ways of reporting concentration, such as molarity, molality, parts by mass and parts by volume, which is what we'll be discussing in this tutorial, mole fraction, and mole percent. Parts by mass is the ratio of the mass of the solute to the mass of the solution. Remember, the solution is the solute and the solvent added together. And this is all multiplied by a multiplication factor. For instance, if it's a percentage, it's going to be that ratio multiplied by 100. If it's a parts per million, it's that ratio multiplied by 1,000,000. And if it's parts per billion, it's the ratio multiplied by 1,000,000,000. Parts by volume is practically the same thing, but it's the ratio of the volume, not the mass, of the solute to the volume of the solution. Once again, the solution is the solute and the solvent added together. All once again multiplied by a multiplier. The percent is multiplied by 100. If it's parts per million, it's ppm multiplied by 1,000,000. If it's parts per billion, ppb, it's multiplied by 1,000,000,000. Usually the ratio of the volume of the solute to the volume of the solution is the parts by volume. So let's do some practice problems with this. What's the concentration of a solution in parts per million? So that means the multiplier is going to be 1,000,000. And the abbreviation at the end, the unit at the end, is going to be ppm. If 0.02 grams of this NaCl, which is the solute, is dissolved in 1,000 grams of the solution, because of the fact that it says solution, we can just use 1,000 grams. Remember, if it had said solvent instead, we would have had to add these two numbers together. So the first thing we want to do is figure out the ratio. 0.02 grams of NaCl divided by 1,000 grams of the solution. Then we're going to multiply it by the multiplier of 1,000,000. And that comes out to be 20 ppm. So what if the question was asking you to use the percentage or the parts by mass? What volume in milliliters of a soft drink that is 10.5% sucrose, C12H22O11, by mass, so it's the percent by mass, contains 78.5 grams of sucrose? So 10.5% means that for every 100 grams of solution, 10.5% of it, 10.5 grams of it, is sucrose. That percentage is now turned into a conversion factor. We want to know the mass, we want to know actually the volume of the soft drink if it contains 78.5 grams of sucrose. So that's going to be our starting number. That's going to be the number that goes over 1. Grams of sucrose is on the top, which means I want to put grams of sucrose on the bottom. And 100 grams of solution on the top. I've used this conversion factor to do it. That tells me that I'm going to need 78.5 times 100 divided by 10.5 to equal 747.6 grams of the solution. That's how much solution I need. So it's actually asking for the volume. They give you the density is 1.04 grams per milliliter. We know that density is equal to mass over volume. So that means 1.04 grams per milliliter is equal to 747.6 grams over X. Because that's the mass of the solution. And this is the density of the solution. First thing I want to do is get that X on the top by multiplying both sides by X. I multiply it on the right, it cancels out. Now I want to get X by itself. The grams cancel. This cancels all together. And the X is now equal to 719 milliliters. And that's how you do parts by mass and parts by volume and using the percentages.